So when we're dealing with a natural monopoly, right, where the average costs are declining over the range of production, so it just makes sense. So natural monopolies happen when fixed costs are very large, right? So a lot of tech companies are natural monopolies because it costs a lot of money to set it up and have the infrastructure, but then adding an extra user onto Facebook costs nothing, right? So natural monopolies happen when fixed costs are large relative to variable costs. And regulators have a choice to make, right? So the natural monopoly on its own is going to maximize profits by producing the quantity where the marginal revenue is equal to the marginal cost, right? So a natural monopoly is going to choose this point right here as their profit maximizing quantity. They're not going to go ahead and pick a price there because that's not where the demand curve is. They're going to go up to the demand curve and look at what the willingness to pay is of consumers given that amount available, right? And again, this is the only amount available because they are the monopolists. So they're going to set this as P star. So if an antitrust regulator came in and split this company exactly in half, then each half would be producing, instead of Q star, they'd be producing at Q star divided by 2. And so instead of producing at, we have a price of $9.3 and a quantity here of 4, now we're going to be producing at 2, and we're going to have a slight increase in the price. Well, actually, no, we're going to use the same price. Sorry. So we're using the same price here because, again, the price is determined by the demand curve. The demand curve is the whole market's demand curve. So splitting the firms in two is not going to change the price. However, splitting the firm in two is going to change the average total cost for the firm, right? Before they had an average total cost that was, somewhere around $8. And now they're going to have an average total cost that's almost exactly what the price is, right? 9.3. And so exactly splitting them in half isn't necessarily going to have a positive benefit for the market because these firms that were producing at an abnormal economic profit now no longer have an abnormal economic profit. And oftentimes what the capitalist apologists say is that monopolists need their abnormal economic profit so that they can do research and development, so that they can develop new things. That's what they say. I don't know how much I believe it. So the other way that we could try to regulate, right? So this is one way, splitting them in half. The other way we could regulate it is we could do a marginal cost regulation. So we could require them to produce out here, where the price is 3.5 and the quantity provided is now 8. But what happens when we produce at this point? Are we making a profit or are we making a loss? Pretty big loss, right? We have to go up to our average total cost here. So we have an average total cost of, looks like, a little less than 8. Let's just say it's 8 just for the sake, right? So we have an average total cost of 8, but we're getting $3.50. So we're losing $4.50 for every single thing that we're selling. So the most likely choice for the regulators to pick is not necessarily the marginal cost. It's not splitting the firm into two, but it's having them produce where their demand curve crosses their average total cost curve. So having them produce right at this point which, is a little bit less than 8, right? Let's say 7.5. And an output of 6. And so at this particular junction, we're going to end up with a lower price than we had before when we let the monopolists do their thing, right? When we let the monopolists do their thing, they charged $9.30, and they were making abnormal economic profits. When we split them up, they were charging $9.30, but then not making any economic profits. If we make them do marginal cost pricing, they're losing $4.50 on every transaction. But if we have them price and produce where the demand crosses the average total cost, the price to the consumers improves, right? Goes down from 9.3 to 7.5. And the monopolists are still earning zero economic profit. So there's no incentive for them to exit the industry. Okay, that is all we're going to do on Chapter 11. The rest of it, there's just a little bit left of Section 11.3 and 11.4. It's definitional stuff. So for the sake of getting through our notes, I'm just going to skip it. But please go ahead and read through it. Talks about the effects of deregulation and the acts that have happened recently and the impact that they've had. So please go ahead and read through the text, at least 11.4 and also the second half of 11.3 after you get to this graph. This graph is also reproduced in the text, so if you're having some difficulty with following what the heck is going on here, 11.3 in your text is going to have that explained out well.